tycoon. Interesting. I would like to make one thing completely clear. Mind what you're doing.
Did you know that no international laws apply out here?
Okay, moment of truth. Is my audio working? I forgot to test it before the stream. It looks like it is. So maybe today I'm beating the allegations that I'm bad at streaming. Fat chance! Hi, Ryan. Hi, Sakura. Hi, Pizza. Hello, Howdy. How are you? I don't recognize your profile picture. Welcome to the stream if you are new. I'm sorry if my memory is bad. Could be a ghost. Hi, Possum. It's a little bit quiet in here. I need some music. Shrimp in a Tank is back, baby. So I think it's time. Wait, was Shrimp in a Tank back last week? Oh gosh. Gang, I have a confession to tell you, and that is that I'm struggling with depression right now. So my brain isn't quite working as well as it usually is. But I gotta tell you, the idea of just chilling out with some cozy socialism and Marxism sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, I guess I would say that I'm using them ironically. Ryan, I guess I would say that I'm in a bit of a mood today. Thank you, Pizza. I appreciate it. It's, it's just part of life sometimes. Sometimes the sad monsters get you and you just kind of go with it as best as you can, when you've when you've been living with it as long as I have. Ooh, gang. Well, the dog is here and the dog is cute. I forgot to get the dog camera working properly, so enjoy the shot of my Hatsune Miku. Wow. There she is. Look at how perfect she is. Oh my god, that's a perfect dog. That's what we call a perfect dog. Here you are, my love. With a long neck. Long neck. In the trenches with you, let's show depression who's boss. And win the war, if not the battle. You know what? Just like making it through. Making it through is enough for me. Should I tone down the Jolly Ribbon? No, Sakura. Jolly Ribbon gives me power. I will say, though, that I'm super looking forward to reading. Oh, wait, I already said that. But it's still true. It's doubly true. I might lean more on being in the timer and just, like, doing the reading. Just a heads up, unless you guys are interesting enough. We'll see. We'll see how Sakura does beating the timer this week. Let's see. Do I have any updates to tell you? Oh, yeah, I do. I do have an update for you. Next week I'll be at PAX, so no stream next week. Yeah, I'm sad about that. I'll miss you guys. And I'll miss my reading time. I did not get a ton of time to read this week. Because I was super busy being really depressed. It's just so time consuming. This is the problem with depression, is it's so time consuming. I was just so busy feeling like a miserable slug. Thank you, Pizza. I appreciate that. I've never been to PAX before, and it's very much not my scene. I used to live very close to where PAX happens, and so it always felt like, oh, you should go to PAX. And I was like, but there's so many people. Some tenant union organizing in your apartment building? Ryan, that is so fucking cool, dude. Oh my god, snaps for Ryan in the chat. I'm sorry, snaps is kind of a sorority sister thing. Props to Ryan in the chat. Commendations to Ryan in the chat. Haven't been to a convention in years. What was the last convention you went to? Oh, it is a beatnik poetry thing. And what are we but not poets of our own fate? Does that work? I don't know. I don't know if that works. Some local thing in South Florida with your wife. Honestly, I feel like the super local ones are sometimes some of the best ones because, like, you know, you're with your people, you know? It's about being with the people. Something that I really struggle to get into, but I know is important. As we've talked about many, many times on the chat, my central personal struggle is the love and respect that I have for the idea of being with people and being with community, and my complete total inability to practically do it and be with community. But I'm here with you guys, and I think that counts. I think I should get credit from that. Pizza, you're in Texas, right? Are there any Texas conventions? There's gotta be. There's gotta be. We held a social on Sunday, and then a group of 6 people who had never met decided to go out for supper after and invited you. Oh my god, that's so great. That's really cool. Oh yeah, South by Southwest. That's a pretty cool one. I hear it's like kind of corporate now. There is some chance that I sneak out of PAX because I get really overwhelmed, and then I buy a day pass to Bumbershoot and just sit in the stands during the day when it's like kind of empty. From the deep south. TM. You moved to Canada. Oh, congratulations on moving to Canada. Did you move to East or Western Canada? We talking Toronto or Vancouver? Obviously, you don't have to live in one of the major cities, but... Newfoundland! Oh my goodness! That's where the best accents are. Okay, I wanted to share with you the stuff that I did read this week and kind of recap what we did learn. So, okay, I got through the first 2 chapters. So that's our first 2 criticism. First criticism, for those who remember from last week, Marxism is no longer applicable because he's talking about like factory workers and like blue collar workers, but here in the West we're mostly like white collar service workers now. So like it just like doesn't apply. That's our first criticism. And his rebuttal is that Marx was extremely aware of the way that technology and colonialism and globalism were changing the economic landscape, and he predicted the rise of white-collar work and globalization. In fact, he talks about the globalization that is actually happening in the Commifesto, for those who remember. He sort of recounts this history of like a leftist perspective of the history of the post-war boom to today, and that includes the sort of way that communism quote unquote lost to capitalism during like basically kind of the Cold War. Let's see. Here's an interesting tidbit that I learned. Engel's father owned a textile mill, and so Marx, who was like perpetually in poverty, Engels, who is his co-author, the co-author of the Comifesto, kind of is sliding Marx some money from his father's textile mill. So Marx probably would not have like survived to write all of his polemics against textile mill owners if not for a textile mill. I think that's great. I think that's fabulous. And I think, what else are we supposed to do? But like try to build something better than what our parents built, you know? I think that's rad. Let's see, shouldn't PAX have like a low sensory room? It's big enough. Or like a med tent for getting away and chilling out. I mean, it doesn't really like, it's in like a convention center, so I don't know if it has that at all. When I went to GDC this year, there was like a meditation room. That was fantastic. Oh, I spent like an hour in there every day. It was amazing. Went to the Warframe convention once. All right. Had to decide to turn off the introversion and be social and spend the next few days in bed. I think that's going to be my situation. Yeah, I think it's going to be a miracle if I get the last of my 5 videos in 10 weeks out on time. Let's see. Toward the Maritimes last year, Newfoundland is the best province. I've never been there. I hear it's like incredibly beautiful. Anywho, okay, chapter 2. What is our second critique of communism? The second critique is like, okay, well, what about like all of the genocide and the death and the famine and the hardships that communist governments have perpetuated? Like, how do we reckon with that? He says, as Soccer kind of predicted, that basically that's a PR campaign against communism. And let's also not forget that capitalism, with its penchant for globalism and colonialism and slavery and manipulating foreign politics for the benefit of access to natural resources, has also caused immense suffering. Maybe it just sort of outsources it to other countries instead of doing it to its own people as much. And he sort of doubles down on this thing that I learned through this chapter. So the difference between like Stalinism and communism is Stalinism, per this book, is saying that you do not need an international revolution. We can just do our country. Our country alone can just do a communism. We don't need every country to do a communism. And he points to the utter failure of Stalinism and the insanely evil stuff that Stalin did as like, this is why you need an international revolution, because otherwise you will be beset upon all sides by these dastardly capitalists who are aiming for your downfall. And I find this to be a little bit of like, okay, great, but like you need a government that will like endure and survive pressures, external pressures, if it's going to be like a viable government. There was, however, he cites this like really interesting like style of government in this chapter, which I will tell you about after I check out the chat here. By the way, thank you so much for coming by, Nezpad. Good to see you. Good to see you. I forgot to say hi to you. St. John's is incredibly beautiful. Interesting. Something like nearly 500,000 people live on the island. There's less than 200 cops. There's very little crime. Oh my god. Oh my god, that sounds incredible. Imagine your cops not being completely militarized. Let's see. Marx is a little retroactively defined by the Soviet Union and Stalinism. The Bolshevik Soviet Revolution intentionally redefines global revolution. Yeah, and I think that we also need to like remember that the country that would become the USSR was in like a pretty bad economic situation. And so it's very, he points out in this chapter that in order to do a communism properly, you need kind of the wealth that capitalism generates, the extreme wealth generated by the extreme greed that capitalism provides. And then you need to distribute it to everybody else. So here's kind of an issue that I identified, because I'm so smart and brilliant. That like, okay, but that's going to be really a hard sell to the capitalists. Like, we worked so hard. This is exactly what billionaires are always saying to us. We worked so hard to get all of our wealth. You worked so hard to get the wealth that you have. They want to take it away from you and give it to the poor. And I think that's a hard sell. You know how I think we do a good revolution, a good like quote unquote revolution that is not bloody? Because like I think actually Pizza ended the chat last week by saying, "Hey, can we do like a revolution without violence? Could we do that maybe?" I completely agree with that. I think in this community we need to be advocating for nonviolent revolution. Because I don't want to live through that. Sounds miserable. Is that kind of what China is doing? Doing a capitalism and then redistributing it? I mean, assuming that the party itself is not really corrupt and allocating in a disproportionate number of the resources to itself. Are they doing it? It's really hard to say. China is very opaque about these things. Sometimes I hear about things happening in China, like during COVID, they made sure that everybody had groceries. There were like deliveries of groceries to everybody's door. And then I hear things about like insane corruption that happens within the Communist Party. So like, I don't know. I don't have the perspective on that. Ryan, you should totally read along with me. Marx uses feudal class terms intentionally, but proletariat was not feudal. It was Latin. It's a little funky to define, but essentially it's a nationalist, as in national culture heritage. Like, proletariat means nationalist? And once distributed, what then? Where does wealth go after communism is achieved evenly? Well, I'll tell you, Sakura. Just a moment. Let me get through the rest of the chat here. German, British, Chinese, Japanese. Oh, advocated for people. So it's like an international nationality, if you will. Sort of a uniting, something that we can create a sense of unity around. This idea of like, I am of the proletariat, and also person who works in China in a textile mill or in an electronics factory is also of the proletariat. Though I think it's pretty debatable whether I am part of the proletariat given how I spend my days. Stalinism wanted a global single party, but I mean, they didn't act like it, did they, Pasa? Don't remember saying that, but you also have ADHD and a poor memory. Let's just, like, not kill people. Yeah, regardless of who said it, let's all agree not to kill people. Whoever was the great philosopher said maybe we don't need to do a violent revolution. I'm on their side. The insane corruption. Welcome in, Almond, by the way. Good to see you again. To be entirely fair, the insane corruption is not much different than the corruption in capitalist societies, but at least they have groceries. That's true. And that's very similar to the critique that he makes here of capitalism, that like the incredible hardships are also perpetuated by capitalist governments. So when we say like, oh, communist governments have failed, look at all the horrible things that they did to their people, we can say yes, they also do this to their the capitalist nations also do this to other people. Okay. Okay. So I said I would give you a like specific example of governing. One thing that I really do like about this book is that he says, okay, here are what specific sects of socialism or communism believe. Like, okay. In chapter 2, he talks a lot about libertarian socialism and Trotskyists. And how their feeling is that we don't just need we just need to do democracy and civil rights. They believe that we need a total overhaul of the system, a total socialist overhaul. Their concern is when a communist government collapses, and I think we can definitely see this in the case of the USSR, when a communist government collapses, it sort of falls into the outstretched waiting arms of capitalism that can pick at its corpse like carrion birds. Like just picking out all of the useful resources. Wanted cultural... Okay, when Marx said workers unite, he didn't mean a global utopia, but a collection of worker-led utopias. German utopia for Germans, Chinese worker utopia for Chinese. Do we like that idea? What do you guys think about that idea? He wanted cultural considerations in the language and circumstances of his time. I don't know. I guess I worry about tensions and hostilities between these groups. But I also really want cultures to have their culture, you know? I don't know. I feel conflicted about that idea. Told your wife you said you should write a book, and she was like, you should. So now you're concerned. Maybe one day you'll be reading my manifesto on stream. Why would you be concerned about this? Oh, you're cornered. Sorry, my eyes are not good. You're cornered. I look forward to reading your manifesto on stream. Just 4 years until the next games manifesto jam. You think it's dated? It does feel a little bit dated in the age of the internet. Okay, so specific kinds of socialism and communism that you could do. Also, he does a lot of conflating of socialism and communism, which, feels not in the spirit of Marx, since he spends like the whole third section of the Communist Manifesto tearing down different kinds of socialists. Like that doesn't feel on brand for Marx, but peace and love, we don't need to do exactly what Marx says. It's just when you name your book Why Marx Was Right, I am going to say like, are you arguing for the same things that Marx was arguing for? I guess we could do a Katie and Katberger manifesto jam. That's a fun idea. Monoculturism is something that is impossible as an end goal. People will always share things and practices. We will always end up in a blend of influences at any given moment. This is true. This is very true. So he talks about market socialism, in which the means of production are socially owned, but there's all these self-governing cooperatives that would compete with one another in the marketplace. So in this view, market socialism would do away with social classes, but you still kind of have inequality, right? Because somebody is losing the competition. And that feels not great, right? Because I feel like the point of doing, like, the thing that we wanted to get by getting rid of social classes is to do away with inequality as well. So I don't know about this market socialism thing. an alternative to market socialism is like participatory economics, he names it. Resources being allocated by negotiations between producers and consumers and environmentalists and other relevant parties. He gives a specific application of this that his academic advisor, Raymond Williams, in his book Communications describes. So this is specifically an application for like newspaper and art and basically producers of culture. How do we produce culture in a communist society? Hey Flair, welcome in. So, Ryan, I think there would be quite a lot that would be different between labor classes of different cultures, kind of like how imposing democracy on a culture doesn't necessarily make democracy work. Yeah. Specializations create power structures. Inherently, life is a series of transitory situations. But how do we deal with the hierarchy problem? Had to re-enable the YouTube app on your phone for this? Oh, you can't type in the chat from mobile browser? That's lame. Did you uninstall YouTube on your phone for mental health reasons? Because that's good of you. I'm sorry that you had to reinstall for my stupid stream. Okay, so what is Raymond Williams' idea for how do we create culture under communism that isn't under state control, that is owned by the artists and the journalists and the writers? Okay, so the idea is that active contributors in the field have control of their own means of expression and communication. So rather than means of production in the tradition of this, like, in this particular industry, it's the means of expression and communication. The workers should control their own means of expression and communication when their labor is expression and communication. The management of these fields should be invested in democratically elected bodies. The actual location where arts and media take place should be publicly owned. So like the opera house is publicly owned, the radio station is publicly owned. But the management of these places is democratically elected by the people who are making art and by the people who are enjoying the art or journalism that these places produce. And these sort of councils, these sort of management councils are responsible for awarding public resources and kind of leasing these socially owned facilities to either individual practitioners or democratically self-governing companies or like cooperatives of actors or journalists or whoever. I love this because it would end things like Fox News. I don't think Fox News survives under this. I don't think you get billionaire-controlled media with this particular model. However, the downside is that, as Oscar Wilde put it, the problem with socialism is that it takes up too many meetings. You are describing doing so many meetings, and I think this is a question that we as potential communists or potential socialists need to ask ourselves. How many meetings are you willing to go to for a just society? And he points out this is true of media generally, that most media under capitalism avoids difficult, controversial, or innovative work because it's bad for profits. And this is why you have banality, sensationalism, or like gut prejudice. And I think this is something that we have all experienced in the media that we specifically consume. For example, Pizza said that they came to the stream because I want Pizza to like engage with my content, right? Because I get ad revenue. I don't make a dime off of this stream because this channel isn't monetized, but I want everybody to watch no one is going to watch this video. And so that title, that thumbnail is sensationalist. And so it is in my profit interest to make a thumbnail like that. Honestly, I just thought it would be kind of funny. I thought it would work pretty well. So that's why I did it. But yeah, there's something like kind of exploitative about that, which is why I think I would probably only make a thumbnail like that, like once a year, maybe. I think I can get away with and still feel okay about myself ethically. We have so many chats that I have not keeping up with. Keeping up with is not a word. All systems are perfect until you add humans. Yeah, that's fair. Oh, and your browser blocks them. That's valid. That's valid. We have to value expression more than material wealth. So we need to remove the need for material wealth. Some kind of insane bioengineering to remove the need to eat or sleep. Become cyberpunk elves. Maybe we just upload all our consciousnesses to the cloud, the publicly owned cloud, and then we no longer have material needs because we are no longer material creatures. I'm not actually advocating for this idea, to be clear, but you know, it solves the problem that you're pointing out. The society expressed by fantasy elves, while they value art and beauty above the material. Those elves are also like really into hierarchy. I feel like I hate those stupid elves. I hate fantasy. I'm sorry to fantasy fans. I realize that like I want to be into Discworld. I would like to enjoy Discworld, and I think I just can't get into it because I just am like, ugh, fantasy tropes. Can barely stand for a 50-minute. Oh no. Oh. Is that a joke, Flair, or are you? Is your standing stamina not where you'd hope it would be? Using tools and managing tools are two incredibly different skill sets. Yes, introducing tool workers into management meetings makes for very long and unproductive use of time for everyone. I mean, I don't know if you've been to like any kind of like student governing body meeting, but those meetings feel very unproductive. They're very frustrating to go to. How many meetings will you go to for a 5% chance at a just society? I think that's the question we need to ask ourselves. Thought about uploading consciousness before, keep coming to the conclusion that the uploaded you is different you, and the you has to keep living while uploaded you does their own stuff. If they even survive afterwards. Too many meetings for just world. Okay. Thought you were sharing a disability with us. I'm picking up what you're laying down. We all know what stuff with one F is. It's still stuff. Okay. Okay, so now everybody's caught up on where I am in why Marx was right. Let me put up the old. Hey, is the chat not working? The little chat box? That's sad. Oh no, it is working. It is working. Okay. Jeez Louise. Okay. You're currently having a meeting about meetings. Yeah, but like, okay, maybe this is the secret to a society of meetings. I think we're all here because we want to be here, and because like on some level we're having fun. Maybe it's type 2 fun because we're engaging in complicated topics, but like this is fun for me. I'm doing this because I have fun. I am very depressed right now, and I was like, okay, I don't feel like it, but I should do the stream because it will be fun once I'm in it. And now that I'm in the stream, I can confirm that it is fun now that I'm here. Okay, here's my take on uploading yourself. Here's my take on it. I think that longing for that is a form of self-annihilation. And so it's kind of, in my mind, a form of suicidal ideation, unfortunately. At least I find that when I am longing for like these, like, I have this long-standing fantasy about joining a hive mind specifically, or like uploading myself, or like, you know, transcending my human form. And I have to acknowledge, thanks to our pal phenomenology, that once you separate the mind from the body, there is you are no longer have the same existence. You are no longer the you that you know, because your experience, your lived experience, is completely different, right? I think our human bodies and our senses are so essential to our consciousness and the way that our consciousness is. So, and I've come to believe this through phenomenology, through learning about phenomenology. So I think that it's kind of a form of longing for self-annihilation. And the reason I do believe this so strongly is I find that I have these fantasies prior to a depressive episode, and these fantasies often then slide into, unfortunately, real suicidal ideation. Fun has so many types, and type 2 fun is my favorite kind of fun. Okay, what are the types of fun? Okay, let's get into it. What are the types of fun? Let's look it up. Type 2, I think there's 4 types of fun. The 4th type of fun is the funniest type of fun. Okay, type 1 fun is when it's in the moment, it's fun, and you don't want it to end, and afterwards you remember it fondly. Type 2 fun in the moment is not fun, and then after it involves like a lot of stress or suffering, and then after it you're like, you know, I'm so glad I did that. That was great. Like hiking, or like summiting Mount Everest. These are like the classic, or like a Tough Mudder. Like these are the classic forms of type 2 fun. I like to say that I hate the outdoors and outdoorsy stuff. And for me, type 2 fun is like writing a video essay. And that in the moment it's quite hard, and I'm like fucking breaking my back over it, and it's making me miserable, and then I get done and I was like, that ruled. I'm so glad I did that. That was awesome. I know they perceive it as a form of longevity, Ryan, but I think it's in fact the opposite, because your existence is going to fundamentally change. The you that you have uploaded is no longer you in any meaningful sense of the word. Type 3 fun is not fun. It's when it is neither fun in the moment or fun afterwards. And so it's not fun. So when you're having a miserable time and you don't want to be there, and you know you're going to look back on this experience negatively, you can say, wow, this is some type 3 fun right here. Okay, these are the types of fun. Okay, I think we're finally ready to get into the stream. What say you, gang? Well, the stream, the reading part, the work part of the stream. The most type 2 part of the stream. We're ready to transition from type 1 fun to type 2 fun. What do you say? Yeah, type 3 fun is something that becomes a stand-up set. Okay, gang. I'm getting into it. Oh, resume. Chapter 3. Chapter 3's criticism is saying that Marxism is just determinism. He sort of talks about this inevitable workers' revolution because of the contradictions of capitalism just sort of piling up, that there is no choice but for workers to revolt, that it's going to happen no matter what. And this is offensive to the nature of free will. So I don't know. I don't really care about this criticism. I see what you're saying. I think it's bad. the reason that this is a valid criticism for me is that it's really bad to get people on the side of Marxism if you're saying that it's inevitable, right? Because it's just sort of saying that you don't have to do anything. In the same ways that if the polls for a political, for like an election, say that candidate A is definitely going to win, that's going to negatively affect voter turnout because it feels inevitable that candidate A will win. Not sure actual immortality would be any different. I mean, I can see the argument there. I don't think my view of things is foolproof, but sort of in the Wittgensteinian approach to philosophy where we use it to untie these Gordian knots in ourselves, I think it's been helpful for me to think of it as a form of self-annihilation. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. It's a good point, Howdy. Okay, I'm actually going to start reading now. Threatening you with a good time. So does aging. I see what you're saying there. Nothing holy about seeing through eyes versus data streams. I think the authors of Serial Experiment Lane would beg to differ. Thank you, Almond. Oh, you did a Lane podcast? That's cool. You want to post a link to it in the chat? If you feel like it. Don't feel pressured if you don't feel like it. I mean, I think this is a good question, Flair. Would you get along with the clone of yourself? One U is too much. Forcing someone else to live because of your own fear of death. Huh. Okay, my first reaction to reading that, Pizza, is isn't that kind of what having a kid is like? This desire for some aspect of yourself to continue on. Is the Spirit City Library DLC worth it? I mean, sure. I got it this week because I needed a treat and I was feeling depressed. I like there's some really good, there's like a decent amount of places you can go. I'll give you a tour of the library during the break. How about that? I'm Katie. I'm not Catburger. Catburger's some other guy. Yeah, Catburger, if you go on the main channel and you look at some of the shorts, you can see Katie and Catburger, and they're two different people. And sometimes we goof around. He's been very busy lately, so he hasn't had a chance to be in any of the videos lately, but you stick around, you meet Catburger. Yeah, he's been busy. A billion years? Oh gosh, it has been a while. We have a script for a video that I keep meaning to work on, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And he's been really busy. And so, I don't know, we just like haven't found the space to work on it together. But I really do want to do something like the Daniel Mullins video again, where it's like a true, like, half Katie, half Catburger. Catburger is always implicated. That's true. He's always at the end of the video. Chikataiti. That's how I would pronounce that word, possum. No kidding! Wow! Oh my gosh, that was a while ago. That makes me so happy, Almond. Yeah. Yeah, I keep like putting it on my agenda to every once in a while we'll record something and then it's like on my agenda to edit it forever and I just like can't get to it. Um Haunting. Really, by Alien Bob? Oh my god, Alien Bob is so cool. Alien Bob feels like a fellow traveler to me in the truest sense. Is that the video that I read those quotes for, Sakura? Because, like, those were such fun quotes. That was so fun to read for Sakura. Some of my favorite quotes I've read for you. Oh my gosh, he's done another Raymond Williams name drop. It's just nice to see an academic who so adores his academic advisor. Marx believes in a cooperative society free of exploitation run by the producers themselves, and holds that this could only come about by revolutionary means. But so did the great 20th century socialist Raymond Williams. Are you reading an excerpt, Ryan? Do you find him a little bit loquacious? Loquacious? Was that the last of the shrimp tank? Oh, cool. Congratulations on being our first read along. Unless somebody who's not participating so much in the chat is reading along. But the first read along that I know about. Oh no. Okay. Okay. We still have more shrimp music. Oops, sorry. I think ultimately, as a piece of dialogue, shared language, and ideology, Marx is good, but as a practical manual, it leaves a lot to be desired. He makes practical demands and yeah, I mean my criticisms of Marxism are numerous, at least of the Commie-festo are numerous. Hello, little dog. Hi. Did the ice machine wake you up and now you feel you deserve a treat? Okay. Oh, I think they wouldn't make it if not for the love of the game, Flair. Can you go to your bed, my love? Go to your bed. You don't want to? Go to your bed. Here you go. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, bye, Pepper. Okay, come here. You go to your bed? You don't want to? Sit. Okay, that might be all for Pepper today. We'll see. I mean, honestly, I think that he writes this book because of the first chapter, basically, because of this long-standing narrative that communism has failed, that Marxism is over, that Marxism was wrong, and we should abandon the whole idea of a classless society. And I think that idea comes out of, quite frankly, Francis Fukuyama's End of History, which we will get to. Oh, we'll get there. Don't you believe? White cat and name it Salt. Oh, that would be so cute. That would be so cute. Yes, my love? You gotta go to your bed. Yeah. Good girl. And I think it's especially important to read it right now at this moment in history, given that's what inspired the book. Because Francis Fukuyama, I think this fall, is publishing a book about how history started up again, baby! Communism's back on the menu, boys! I think that's exactly right, Flair. I think that's exactly what Fukuyama means when he says history's starting back up again. Beloathed by my beloved. Hey, Yasha! Welcome in. Fukuyama's End of History is incredibly American-centric, yup, and failed to observe outsider perspectives, yup. Oh no, there's poetry. Let's see here. What is peculiar to Marxism then? The concept not of class, but of class struggle? Certainly close to the core of Marx's thought, but no more original to him than the idea of class itself. Take this couplet about a wealthy landlord from Oliver Goldsmith's poem, The Deserted Village. I shall now read to you the poem. Well, a couplet. The robe that wraps his limbs in silken cloths. Let's try again. The robe that wraps his limbs in silken sloth has robbed the neighboring fields of half their growth. Yeah. I wonder when this was published. Let's find out. Okay, Rumsfeld, with your unknown unknowns. Which I also, yes, I know, I referenced it in the Daniel Mullins video. The Deserted Village is a poem by Oliver Goldsmith published in 1770. So, like 50-ish years before the Communist Manifesto. It is a work of social commentary and condemns rural depopulation and the pursuit of excessive wealth. That's interesting. He says, the symmetry and economy of the lines themselves, with their neatly balanced antitheses, contrast with the waste and imbalance of the economy they describe. The couplet is clearly about class struggle. What robes the landlord robs his tenants. So he's talking about sort of the symmetry of robe and rob and how it contrasts to wealthy and poor. It's your favorite Punnett square. Playing a communist tanuki once in a Pathfinder campaign, and the DM believed communism was a failed system, so he always made your comrades incompetent and silly. Because you'd be silly to still believe in communism? That's stinky. I think it's really interesting how he keeps citing, he's also citing this John Milton poem, this sort of stanza, which he sees as part of, or another example of class struggle or class inequality depicted in art. And I think it's very interesting that the class struggle is first depicted in art before it is depicted by philosophers. It's almost as though the role of the artist is to be on the frontier of human thought, to sort of scratch at the sort of pre-conscious ideas that we eventually will bring to the surface. That's kind of how I think about art. Obviously, not all art. Art is very diverse as a category. But I think that pattern is honestly what drives me to write about art and be obsessed with art and make YouTube videos about art. Hey, you can have a frontier without colonialization. Okay, I promised a tour. But before we do that, some frog music. Hello? Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Having a very hard time using my mouse. What's going on? There we go. There we go. There we go. The mixes are good, Almond. The mixes are good. Immersion broken? It's bug music? Why is it bug music? Oh, published a homebrew for Pathfinder? That's rad. I completely think an artist can explore an idea without fully understanding it. In fact, I think that's what exploration is. Exploring without understanding. How could you explore something if you fully understand it? There's nothing left to explore. Since Zizek, a lot of philosophy is stuck in the method of explaining art or explaining through art. Maybe that's just sort of the pattern that I too find myself stuck in. But I think that's why. I think you're totally right, though, Sakura. I think two of my favorite philosophers, Lauren Berlant and Aubrey Annabel, both write about, like, they both start with Lauren Berlant uses a lot of poetry to sort of talk about, like, oh, well, this is what cruel optimism is. Here's a poem or a piece of art where you can see cruel optimism depicted very plainly. Michael Moorcock's writing career. I'm not familiar. I'm unfamiliar. I promised a tour though. All right. So here's the Nook. Let's start with the sort of front activities. Full view. Okay. Full view. If we could just full view. I think maybe this one? General. Okay. So this is the library. I've only customized the Nook so far because, as we know, the customizing is part of the procrastinating from doing the work, and I'm trying not to procrastinate too much. But we've got 3 major areas, technically 4. But so we have the fireplace area, which is behind this right now. We have the main desk area, sort of the front desk, if you will, and the Nook, which we were just in. We have a few scenes here, sort of a nice a city scene, sort of a fantasy scene. Of course, the Japanese scene is still here. A nice forest, library in the forest is nice. And then this one, which kind of looks like the Lo-Fi Girl background to me. I think the space one actually looks extremely cool because it makes this like star stuff here. I think that's really neat. Okay, so the fireplace. There's so many activities, actually. Look at all these activities by the fireplace. We've got relaxing and writing, some researching. I love that she can go over to the bookshelf. That's very fun. Yeah, there's 3 different spaces you can be in. Actually, there's 4. We'll get there. Gaming, music, knitting. Hey, I'm still doing my tour. Thank you. Reading, sipping. We love sipping, of course. There you go. There she takes a sip. In addition to that, we have the Nook, which I showed you. But yeah, there's reading, typing. It's very much like the fireplace area, kind of in the main like bedroom that you can study in. And then I think, okay, so study, it's much of the same stuff. This is more like in front of the window. But this is cool. There's an Arcana area where you can do summoning or spell casting or magic or, of course, brewing. A chug animation for Midnight Cram Session college experience. I don't think that the game wants to embody a manic energy, so no. Nespad, thank you for noticing. That is on purpose. Arcana is the means by which all is revealed. That's true. That's true. Maybe we should spend some time doing the Arcana. Maybe we should try to summon a solution to summon a solution to capitalism. Is it even a real library? I mean, it's not a magical library. The magical library is always chill and cool, yeah? Okay. Oh, sorry. I want to move the pepper cam. Yes. There she is. Okay. There we go. Okay. This is my real familiar. Bruce and Brewskis and Get Crunk. Wouldn't know anything about the Arcana, suspicious face. Yeah, something like that, Almond. Something like for real on God No Cap. That would be cool, Ryan. That would be cool. Okay. Anyway, Shall we get back to studying? Max manic energy. Oh, I don't know about that. I've met plenty of practitioners who really use it as a form of meditation to sort of keep themselves calm. I don't know what sort of magic your homies are practicing, Possum. Is it dark magic? Me and the homies summoning Enesser back from the dead to sell copper to data centers. That is a good compliment, Yasha. Damn. Damn! Oh, let's move this maybe over here. What does that look? And that way we can move Pepper where she needs to be, which is covering Catburger. Sorry, Catburger. The dog is here. Yes. Yeah, thanks for asking. Nobody got through Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy without a manic obsession. I would believe that. I would believe that. Learning about hoodoo and hollers recently. Interesting. Interesting. Tell me more, Sakura. Where she learns basketball on a crossroads? What is that from, Ryan? What are you referencing? Okay, I'm going back to reading. You guys are funny. Okay, actually one question that I did want to ask. Sakura, when you said that philosophy right now is sort of stuck at explaining through art, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? What are your thoughts on that? Or is it a medium thing? Hey, this is fun. Voltaire believed that the rich grew bloated on the blood of the poor. And now that's literally true, with Peter Thiel injecting the blood of teenagers in his veins. Agrippa even rewrote his occult philosophy when they got him for being a bad Christian. Actual vampire teal. It's limiting because a lot of new ideas can be had by discussing ideas directly, but the intimidation turns people off, like math anxiety. Huh. Okay, how do you discuss ideas that you don't have words for, then? Because I think that's the value of art, is discussing ideas that you don't yet have language for. Card night with the boys! Thanks for stopping by, Almond. It's really good to see you again. Have fun with the boys! Never doubt frog music, Honey Fox. By the way, hi Honey Fox, how are you? Good to see you. If you don't have the language, do art. Or do the words as the art. Rough drafts, torn paper, try again, then publish. An intentional deconstruction of discussion. Conversational skill development has been replaced by debate skills, so every conversation turns into debate. Dislike debate. I also dislike debate, but I think there's also something deeper to what you're saying, Possum. I think that the intentional deconstruction of discussion started when we started to think about the sign as having the signifier and the signified, these two parts, right? When we say, can we really trust language as being like an objective thing that relates to like specific objects? I'm referencing, and I'm going to say his name wrong because I've only read his name and I've never heard his name. Saussure, Saussure, who separates says you can't relate like cat to the word cat. Cat refers to the concept of cat. Cat is made up the signifier of cat and the signified, which is the idea of a cat. And when I say cat, we're all imagining different cats. Introductory day of a new study, so that's exciting. A new study of what? It's an embrace of using sophistry in debate, isn't it? So good faith engagement becomes treated as naive. Yeah, no, I think, well, let me look up the word sophistry because I don't know if I know what that means. Plausible but fallacious argumentation. A plausible but misleading or fallacious. An embrace of using sophistry. Yeah, I think certainly on the internet, and then we kind of get back to this idea that media is driven by what is most profitable, and that's how you get this like banal sensationalist stuff, because like banal sensationalized debate is what sells, what people will actually come to watch rather than what is productive. Anti-Plato, Socrates, objective truth stuff, which is pretty ironic, Possum, given that the people who are like debate me all have fucking Greek Socrates statues for their profile pictures. Oh no, I'm a jaded millennial. Hands up if you're a jaded millennial in the chat. I think why I like this stream is it's the least jaded I get to be all week. Be studying pedagogy and education. Oh my god, that's so cool, Honey Fox. That's so rad. It's the establishment of people adopt their rivals' symbols. I don't know what that is called. Ryan, Nezpad. Sophistry is rhetoric and oration, usually pejorative for philosophers, depicting, complicated word, Anaxagoras. Man is the measure, as the example of a sophist who care more for rhetoric than truth. But what if you're a postmodernist, Sakura, who doesn't really believe in objective truth? A youth, so proof that Katie is hippin' with it. Thank you, Pizza. Thank you for helping me to beat the allegations that I'm a crusty old maid. So Yasha's, a boomer. We have a boomer perspective. Oh, faith is stupid though, Possum. Well, Sakura, a lot of people would call me a heathen. Plato's not alone in that accusation. Okay, I'm going back to reading. Okay, let me see how this hits you guys. He's spending the first part of this chapter sort of pinning down what is specific. What is the idea that is specific to Marxism that is absent in other sort of socialist ideologies? And he comes down to this idea that class struggle is the central force that drives human history. The idea of class struggle, not new at all, but the idea that it is the central force that drives human history forward. He says, whereas many social thinkers have seen human society as an organic unity, what constitutes it, in Marx's view, is division. It is made up of mutually incompatible interests. Do you think that it's incorrect because there must be this conflict? Do you think that it's possible to have labor, like proletariat and bourgeoisie, that are not in conflict? Class is one of many intersectional struggles. I mean, this is my big criticism of Marxism, is that it fails to account for intersectionality with its sort of obsession with the proletariat. It says like, well, that's the only problem here, is that's the only inequality that matters. But I think we all know from lived experience that that's not true. The momentum of polity to your real experience is more important than anything. You have major conflicts in school board elections that have nothing to do with class. What is the momentum of polity? Would it be inappropriate to allow class to be a shorthand for the many malleable instances of intersectional struggles? I think so, yes. Because I think that, for example, workers' rights has very different solutions than, for example, disproportionate police brutality towards Black people. Right? Those require very different solutions. And I think a just society would address them both with lots of different solutions. Nothing changes without momentum, wins in the sail of any given political move. Yeah. I completely agree with that, Possum. It is vibes. Which I think is why culture is so important to the movements. What the hell, man? Okay. I need someone smarter than me to weigh in on this particular excerpt. Marx famously declares that the history of all previously existing society is the history of class struggles. Can't mean this literally. If brushing my teeth last Wednesday counts as part of history, hard to see how that's part of class struggle. Okay, I'm with you. Perhaps history refers to public events, not private ones. But that brawl in the bar last night was public enough, so perhaps history is confined to major public events. Okay. How was the Great Fire of London a product of class struggle? It might count as an instance of class struggle if Che Guevara had been run over by a truck, but only if a CIA agent was at the wheel. Now, I understand how Che Guevara being run over by a truck driven by a CIA agent could be a part of the long-standing historical narrative of class struggle. That I don't have an issue with. But why are we bringing in this imagery into the Great Fire of London? Feels like a bit of a non sequitur. And I think you could probably argue that the Great Fire of London is a product of class struggle, because in a more just society, you would have better fire regulations. Rather than a society that is driven by liberalism and like freedom of the market and we don't need to regulate anything. Okay, it's not just me. Okay. Let's just highlight that and then write down what? Trying to exchange a point change fallacy about what counts and what does not count. That's gotta be what he's doing, but like, I don't know. These examples are so weird to me. That's a limit of human perception of care, not truth. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad it's not just me. If anything, it sounds like it's supposed to be a non sequitur. Eh. The use of major firefighting technique of the time, the creation of fire breaks by means of removing structures in the fire's path was critically delayed by the hesitation of the Lord Mayor. That feels pretty directly related to class struggle in a way that Terry Eagleton seems to be ignoring in this sentence. Oh my god, a cute girl invited you to hang out? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, I hope you have a nice date, Flair. Anyway, okay, his point here I think is reasonably valid that class struggle can't cover anything. Class struggle can't cover everything. That feels pretty valid to me to say, because I think it gestures towards the lack of intersectionality that Marx's original Manifesto kind of fails to cover. History is a collection of arguments that escalated. It is the record of circumstantial altercations based around someone being unable to communicate or unable to share, and its consequences. Hence the importance of diplomacy, but you know, we don't write about peacemakers for one reason or another. Wait, why don't we write about peacemakers? I feel like you're alluding to something that I'm not picking it up. one criticism I have of this book is that it's like too concerned with proving that Marx was right. I just feel like the book Why Marx Was Right is too obsessed with proving why Marx is right. Oh, peacemakers don't like to be written about. They're a type. I'm not afraid of that, Snake Sakura, but that's very sweet of you to take into account. Run an errand. Bye, Howdy. Thank you for stopping by. It was great having you here. Peacemakers hold an incredibly obscene amount of power to be able to make peace, to make promises of the obedience of others, and wielding influence over resources. So they don't like to be written about. Is that the vibe you're getting? I don't know. I wouldn't say that I don't like the book. I think, honestly, the more I bother to criticize something, the more I like it. Because it's like, it's engaging me with its ideas. Except for 1000 Times Resist, which is a game that has no flaws. However, I do have another criticism of this book that I will share. He says in the previous chapter that socialism requires a skilled, educated, politically sophisticated populace, thriving civic institutions, well-evolved technology, enlightened liberal traditions, and the habit of democracy. And you know what? I will give you thriving civic institutions, well-evolved technology, and the habit of democracy. But I think that saying that it requires a skilled or educated or politically sophisticated populace is like a pretty classist thing to say, especially because, like, what does politically sophisticated mean? That could mean a lot of things. And also, enlightened liberal traditions is also a very vague term that feels like classist. So I feel like he kind of falls into the same problem that Marx falls into, in which he seems like he hates the poors. The book is lacking real experience. Wait, which statement is very ableist? The game just bypasses critical brain and goes straight to feel-good sensors, which is good. Which is good. We love those games. Oh, yeah, it's very ableist. Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of hits me wrong. The poor, he did really believe that the poors couldn't make their own decisions. And I'm just not seeing a lot of disproving the allegations in the book. A book that's a defense of the defense of Marxism. So we have your next book. Oh, believe me, we have our next book. Don't you worry about that. The only reason I'm not announcing it now is that I have an incredibly long list of books, and I'm using where this book takes me and my thinking to decide exactly what the book's going to be. But I have a bunch of, oh boy, my reading list is long. Exactly, Possum. Exactly. Oh, we're on our break. Okay, philosophers. How does this sentence hit you? He says, Postmodernists tend to assume that there is either one grand narrative or just like a lot of mini narratives. But this is not the case. How does that hit you? Right and wrong types of education. Yeah, could be. We should keep an eye on that. Okay, now this is something that I want to pick apart. Because he's really directly addressing our sort of intersectionality issues here. Both a hegemonic narrative and counter narratives. I actually kind of vibe with what Ryan says, that there is no narrative at all. Narrative is a human construct, right? And we construct what we need to construct to make the point we want to make. Okay, anyway, let me read this to you. Think of the role of ethnic Trimer, excuse me. Think of the role of ethnic identity in that respect, to which Marxism has paid too little regard. Anthony Giddens claims that interstate conflicts, along with racial and sexual inequalities, quote, are of equal importance to class exploitation. But equally important for what? Of equal moral and political importance, or equally important for the achievement of socialism? And like my gut response to this is like equally important for both. First of all, the whole point of doing a socialism is to have a more moral society, have a more just society. Right? But also, like, quite literally, I think that racial and sexual inequalities and all ableist equalities, all of the great, fun, cool inequalities we find ourselves dealing with on a daily basis, are actually very important for the achievement of socialism. Otherwise, you get classes again. You're just back to classes, and as we see in capitalism, the classes are disproportionately populated with people with marginalized identities. Society without narrative is what? Just making a giant damn human equivalent of a bird's nest, a beehive? Man, I gotta get into Diogenes. A lot of Diogenes fans in the chat. As you should, Possum. I think that's very Wittgensteinian. Which is a concept I will admit I don't fully understand because I haven't actually written Wittgenstein. But how I do understand Wittgenstein, it falls into that paradigm. Just lots of pro did you hear from 3,000 years ago. class is defined more where you live than by literally anything else. I mean, I think that's more true than ever in the wake of capitalist globalism, right? Because much of the work of manufacturing, much of the laboring that Marx saw as the proletariat has been outsourced to other countries. That's such a beautiful image, Yasha. Profit incentive is a Lego that keeps finding its way into the arch of your foot. Okay, great news. I found a thing he said that I liked. So much of what we've been talking about is this sort of question of like, what is central to Marxism? What idea is central to Marxism? He suggests it's class struggle specifically. And what is class struggle fundamental to? Marx kind of supposes it's history, but Mr. Eagleton, Dr. Eagleton, I should say, says like, well, obviously he doesn't mean like all of history because there's parts of history that have nothing to do with class struggle. And I don't like his examples, but like I take his point that there are parts of class history, or there are parts of history that don't have to do with class struggle. So if not fundamental to history, then what? What is it fundamental to? Well, first of all, the many events that class struggle shapes. I think that makes sense. Class struggle shapes way more events than we think it does, or that you would think it does on first pass of analyzing them. And the second thing is that it plays a decisive role in turbulent transition from one epoch of history to another. And that, I think, is a trenchant insight that is specific to Marxism. What do you guys think? Communism often ignores logistics. Yeah, I know that Marx kind of gestured at like the telegraph as a way for workers around the world to get in touch with each other. Like, so he sort of honestly does the same thing that capitalism does, where it says like, well, a lot of these problems, they'll be solved by technology. Don't worry about it. It's technology will solve it. We'll figure it out. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. And while I do think it's crucial to keep logistics in mind, I do think that you cannot restrict yourself by logistics, because in order to dream up a better world, you can't bind yourself too tightly to the material, right? You have to imagine what is possible. And sometimes the things that you imagine that are possible aren't possible today, but they are possible tomorrow. So, like a philosophy that doesn't completely account for logistics, I don't think is invalid. Logi is just filed under operating costs. A professional class of certified accountants that worry about logistics. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, in a centrally planned economy, you might have something very similar, though. Yeah? It just, as we kind of started the stream talking about, it just has a lot more meetings. And I don't know, I hate meetings. Yes. But I think it was Soccer who pointed out that this is kind of a meeting, what we're doing today, and I'm enjoying this. And like, I think that I like just societies more than I hate meetings, so I think I'd be willing to go to more meetings. My favorite meeting too. The accountant's privilege in the meeting is to throw the numbers on the table and go, done. Huh, I wonder if accountants would feel that way, Possum. The modern meeting has done terrible things for human interaction. Good lord. I mean, maybe that's what we should be examining, is why are meetings so unpleasant? Because jobs are unpleasant? This could have been an email? I mean, I think these are all gesturing at questions that need answering. Like, what is a job? And what are the circumstances that make a job unpleasant? How do we define What information is most efficiently communicated through which mode of communication? Meeting versus email. You do illegally make new numbers under capitalism. I don't know, Possum. I don't know. I'm not an accountant, so I don't know. But I feel like your description of accountancy as a discipline is a little reductive. Your Monday team meetings are great. That's excellent. People that are rambling and don't care about other people's time. And so why wouldn't you care about somebody's time? Narcissism? Why do you need to ramble? Some people think best when they're rambling. And then they start streams about philosophy. But none of you have to be here. This is all voluntary. Unlike a job, as Flair points out, which is not voluntary. A job is filled with involuntary obligations. It's a financier's job. Should we abolish finance? Economists should log off. Well, the accountants would count the beans. Finance and accountants. Financing and accounting are two different disciplines. What about, let me hit you with this. What about if we had two different kinds of currency? There's the currency that you use to buy groceries, and then there's the pretend imaginary currency that you use to buy crypto and then try and make a bunch of money off of crypto. And they're two different kinds of currency. One is kind of just like a community scoreboard, and one is the thing that you actually need to live. Yeah, it does feel like the stock market could disappear and it wouldn't matter for most. I think that if it were to truly disappear tomorrow, it would be a source of societal upheaval because the people who would care the most about that are the people with disproportionate amounts of power. Unfortunately. But like, I don't know, when the stock market's doing well. I've been watching a lot of Julio Torres, and he says in his stand-up special his feelings about the stock market when the stock market's doing well, he's like, congrats to all involved. And I just think that's a really funny thing to say. The premium currency used to buy shiny groceries. Exactly. It's like a mobile app. It's worse than O number of currencies for sure. Okay, how does this sentence hit you? Computers are a productive force if they play a part in material production as a whole, rather than just being used for chatting to serial killers disguised as friendly strangers. I read that and I think that Terry Eagleton doesn't understand the internet. Like, it's so reductive. It's like you can use it to stock trade, or you can use it to chat to serial killers disguised as friendly strangers. Like, computers and internet are so essential to global culture. And I just don't see that reflected in here. And I just think his academic advisor that he loves so much, who was so concerned with the role of culture in the superstructure base framework that Marxism and communism presents, would be ashamed of that sentence. 2011, I believe, is the year that this was published. Feels a little late. Okay, I will say it again. Computers are a productive force if they play a part in material production as a whole, rather than just being used for chatting to serial killers disguised as friendly strangers. What version am I reading? Fabulous question. Let's see. Copyright 2011, 2018. So this is probably the second version, if we have two copyrights. Okay, yeah, so this is also the 2018 edition. This is on page 36. On page 36, there's like a section break, and it's in that section, that second section break. You're secretly a serial killer. And like everybody raises their hand. We're all serial killers trying to catfish each other. Like, I don't know if that's what he's saying. I just feel like it's just ignoring. It's just failing to realize rather than sort of saying outright that they have no value unless used corporately. I think he's just failing to account for many of the conditions in which computers are used, in which they are extremely relevant to whether a society is just or not. I don't know. And like, honestly, I'm taking this sentence out of context, as Ryan is surely about to realize. But like, I don't know. I just hate the sentence. Okay, boomer. Yeah, it has big boomer energy. We need more music. We need more music. Okay, crab music. Killing Raisin Bran Crisp and Cocoa Puffs. Well, it sounds like you specialize in killing the Cookie Crisp dog and the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs bird. That's what it sounds like to me, Sakura. Hey, play, please. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. What do you got, Honey Fox? Okay, I will write it down. What is your suggestion? Structures Without Rooms by Adam Bossarge. Is that an album? Sick. Okay. Yeah. I don't really care if the stream gets copyright claimed, so yeah, let's do it. I've written it down for not next week because I won't be here next week. I will be at PAX, but when we are back, we will listen to it. This is interesting to me. Okay, he said something else interesting to me. Marx believes that the productive forces have a tendency to develop as history unfolds. It's not a claim that they progress all the time, since he also seems to hold that they can lapse into long periods of stagnation. The agent of this development is whatever social class is in command of material production. This strikes me as well observed. No, I'm going to go to PAX next week, so I will not be here on Friday, and I will miss you guys a lot. I have to go out of my hidey hole and go be social. Thank you, Honey Fox. One thing that really struck me about that passage I just read is this idea that productive forces can lapse into long periods of stagnation. This is like a core idea that Peter Thiel is always going the fuck on about how like, where are our flying cars? Ah, man, we're in a period of technical stagnation. And like, I do see where he's coming from, because iPhone has just released the same goddamn phone for 10 years, telling you that it's a new one, but it's like pretty much the same thing. All right, Possum. Thank you so much for coming by. Peace, love, and jazz. Thank you so much for your contributions. I've really appreciated them. And in this view of history, it's as though productive forces, quote, select the class most capable of expanding them. And there comes a point when the prevailing social relations, far from promoting the growth of productive forces, begin to act as an obstacle to them. And this is the dialectical materialism, the idea that, capitalism has these contradictions that accelerate and accelerate and accelerate and become more extreme and absurd until you have this inevitable class revolution. And so I finally think that we're getting to the critique that he introduces in this chapter, this idea of like inevitable revolution. Capitalism, for example, staggers from crisis to crisis, slump to slump by virtue of the social relations it involves. And at a certain point in its decline, the working class is on hand to take over ownership and control of production. Yeah, yeah. That's what we're hoping for. Because it's a horrible idea. Cars are dangerous enough. Okay, let me give you a more practical example of stagnation. Why haven't we cured all forms of cancer yet? Like, it's horrible what cancer does to people. And yet we spend so much money on developing better tanks. Wouldn't we experience greater technical advancement if we spent some of that tank money on curing cancer? Same foam again, but a little worse and with pointless new features? Yeah, exactly, pizza. Under liberalisy theory, would self-destruct themselves before society destructs rather, and the resources would redistribute themselves according to people's desires. What, like, specifically is a stagnant force, though? Like, what is the thing that destructs in the liberalisy theory? Right? Because forces is kind of like a little vague. It's true. I think cancer's on my mind because we just got a new effective cancer vaccine. But like, I'm saying all forms of cancer. Why is leukemia not eliminated? Big pharma benefits from cancer. Comparing the price of insulin in the US to the price anywhere else in the world. Stagnant force language from this guy. Not really in liberalist language, but industry, goods, and services. So, like, the company would go out of business first. BP's not doing its part at helping. The rest of the world is actively being worked on. Just a slower progression. Okay, so two questions arise for me reading that comment. One, I feel like it's implying that the US is not being worked on. And it does kind of feel that way, so I wouldn't disagree with you. But then I think we have to answer the question, why is the US not being worked on? And yes, because of the dingoes in charge, absolutely. But why are those the dingoes that are in charge? Watched a video about the discovery of insulin, and allegedly for a while they figured it out. They just had one dude who knew how to execute the process. That feels very familiar to my experiences working in STEM. Flair, that does seem to be how it goes. It's like it's like you have one grad student who knows how to do something. We call it I went from biology to software, and when I was in software we have this idea of the bus number. what is the bus number of your code? And the bus number is how many people can get hit by a bus before you can no longer use the code because nobody knows how to use it. Go through trying to prevent it, which would be even worse for companies. Exactly, exactly. Imagine being the only person who can make a cure that stops you kids from dying. Yes! God, the pressure. I mean, what is health insurance but a paywall to living? Is that true, Nespad? Like, my understanding is that we aren't actually living that much longer than we were like 100 years ago, let's say. But like our period of living and being able to move around, like things like mobility or brain health, those timelines are extending. So like you have, and the benefit of that is that you have grandparents who are more able to take care of like children. I think I heard that from Philosophy Tube. So depending on how much you like Philosophy Tube, you can trust that statement, that amount. Your excision surgery was cheaper because you were uninsured? That's insane, Sakura. Huh, that's interesting, Nespad. Where did you hear that from? Cite your sources! Trust Abigail Thorne with your life? I don't know if I would trust Abigail Thorne with my life. I think she's a great person. I think she's perfectly nice, but I also think that she's somebody who makes money off of YouTube. And so you have certain motivations when you make money off of YouTube. And like that's your form of income. AI will save us if we just make an AI that can extend the average life expectancy faster than 1 year per year. God. People unironically saying that in like 2005 when we were all talking about the stupid singularity. Yeah. This is my understanding of the case, Sakura. Science magazine like a decade ago would be worth fact checking. Also, I think the thing that I said is also like not well fact checked. So I think we're in the same boat of not really knowing the answer. Here's an interesting question that some Marxists, a point of contention between Marxists and Karl Marx himself. Some Marxists see the compulsion to improve the forces of production, so improving technology so that we can make more for less, not as a general law of history, but as an imperative specific to capitalism. So without capitalism, we get technical stagnation, and maybe that's a good thing. I'm inclined to not agree with that point. I have also heard that, Ryan. Yeah. Singularity is thousands of years away, if not tens of thousands. I don't think it's real. I think it's bullshit. Completely agree, Honey Fox. Completely agree. Thank you, Yasha. Are the Amish the ultimate Marxists? Are they? I think it's a question worth asking. I mean, they kind of have a centrally planned economy, right? So either France or global. Okay, okay. I would trust some French magazine. We have no clue what how thinking works, so we can't even formulate what it would be. That's an interesting perspective. They love God and are usually poor, so Marx would hate them. Don't think that the point isn't true. Wait, that's a double negative. So, you think it might be true. We try to develop technology for the problems we face. Yeah, I'm also of the belief that humans like making things and they like finding stuff out. And so, like I outlined last week, that like my ideal society protects its most vulnerable, makes art, and pursues space travel, space exploration. specifically. And so making art is like humans like making things, and that's part of their fulfillment. And part of how like we lift each other up as a species, and that includes like improving productive forces through technology, and also humans. Oh, yes, Pepper. Yes, Pepper. Are you calling for revolution? Okay, what a good dog. And also they like finding stuff out, so I think it's just natural. I don't know. I apologize for using the word natural. I think it's always suspect when somebody says that something is natural. But I think there's an inevitability to humans making things and finding stuff out. Rise, Pop! Pepper, you have nothing to lose but your ball. Pepper's like, oh, I could lose my ball? Okay, never mind. Yes, gender neutral lads. Sort of obsessed with the fool's errand of trying to think how the art you make will be seen from a future perspective. Oh, I love that though. No, I think that's great. I mean, I agree that technical progression isn't tied to a political system completely. I feel like this is a fundamental claim that he is making that I just totally disagree with. If there were no exploitation, there would be no sizable expansion of the productive forces. And if there were no such expansion, there would be no material basis for socialism. I just totally agree that if there were no exploitation, there would be no sizable expansion of productive forces. I just completely disagree with that. Completely disagree with that. I think that technical progression is inevitable for humans. I don't know. I don't want to say something is inevitable either. Let's say desirable. Technical progression is desirable to humans, not just to any particular political system. Ball and chain? Yeah, maybe. I don't know if Ryan is still in the chat and reading along, but that thing that I just read is at the bottom of page 40 of the 2018 edition. And yes, I am reading very slowly. We can absolutely have progress without exploitation. Like it's just the desire of the craftsman to figure out how to do their craft better. Yeah. I think the nature of this particular stream has become far too interactive to be like a quote unquote study stream where we're body doubling. You think he means exploitation of labor though? I mean, Sakura, do you think that that is essential for technical progression? Or essential for expansion? I think some Marxists do think that we should halt progression. He sort of refers to them when he says that some Marxists see the compulsion to improve the forces of production not as a law of history, but as an imperative specific to capitalism. To me, that implies that those Marxists would say, like, return to monkey, you know? Hey, Cyrus, how are you? Welcome back. Not going to encourage a crow from learning how to lever a stick. Hell yeah. Yeah, I also think that technology is morally neutral. It's humans who have morality, and they leverage the technology to do various things. It's faster and easier without ethics holding you back. Yeah, you do have to have a lot of meetings, and then we're back to having meetings. And I don't know. I suspect that's going to be an inevitable issue. I think it's going to be really hard to pitch communism because people hate meetings. And you gotta have a lot of meetings to do like direct democracy properly. Holding meetings is a skill that we need to take far more seriously in order to get any real improvement. Yeah, absolutely. And maybe this is just my bias as a YouTuber, but I think we need to put effort into making meetings more engaging. By which I mean like more entertaining, something that you look forward to, right? It's a point of community, it's a point of connection, and that should be like exciting rather than no. Not stinky old humans. Oh, you don't think that technology is morally neutral, Sakura? Speak more on that. A tool limits options as it makes those options more efficient, thereby limiting extended cognition when possessed of a tool. Having a tool is a moral act that binds the future. I think I'm too tired to understand that. Do Marxists hate all technological advancement or only when it obviates a profession? I think the challenge with that question, Ryan, is that Marxists are obviously not a monolith. And there are Marxists who hate all technological advancement, and there are Marxists who only hate it when it obviates a profession. And there are Marxists who feel neither are true. A shotgun is, for example, is evil. Yes, the human wielding it is doing the evil, but its stated purpose is to do evil. Okay. Anything designed by human is not morally neutral. Because a human designs it with an intention for moral neutrality. Okay, well, what about things that are designed to be morally good, but then turn out to be morally evil? Like, I believe that... Oh, that's not the example I want to use. That's too hot. Okay, I'll say it anyway. Let's say that we trust Mark Zuckerberg and he invented Facebook with the intention to improve human connection, with this like intention to do moral good. However, the effect has been obviously morally evil overall. Okay, so the idea is that the technology changes the way that your brain works, basically, and you see every problem as a nail. Okay, that's interesting. Complicated. Complicated. Okay, do you think AI is morally evil? I think there's a challenge, actually, a challenge of communication when you say that some technology is morally evil. Because then I feel like it's too easy for people to take on a moral judgment for using the technology. AI is morally evil in its common current use. AI is too vague a term. We must be more specific. Okay. Generative AI, where you are generating an image, video, piece of text using a giant corpus. Gen AI is absolutely morally evil. It's what caused you to think about this in the first place. So then, then do we want to go around accusing grandma who uses AI to see like, is my doctor full of shit when they say I should use this medication? Do we want to say, Grandma, you're acting in a morally evil way? How could you, Grandma? No, Yasha, it's a good point. It's a good point, Yasha. It's a good point. I just want to keep going in the discourse. Does it make you morally evil or say that you did something wrong when you use that LLM? You'll do that sometimes. It's just... It's a bad way to win people to your cause. Accusing them of being morally evil all the time. I don't think it's evil, though. It's a force multiplier. It lets you do evil more efficiently. And it also lets you do non-evil more efficiently. Ryan, I think it's interesting that you did not write, it lets you do good more efficiently. Just non-evil things. Well, okay, Biff Loman stealing a pen. Gen AI is morally evil right now because of its effects on the world, like water usage power. Yes. I mean, less critical thought, for sure. Like, I agree with all these criticisms, absolutely. I don't know if I feel that everybody who uses Gen AI is acting evilly, is acting in a morally reprehensible way. And I think to think that would be a little misanthropic, I feel like. Shaming people for using Gen AI or LLMs often makes them use it more and in secret, and not what you want at all. Absolutely. I mean, Pizza, you're totally right. You're totally right. But the question on the table is someone evil for using Gen AI? It's silly to judge people for using Gen AI. It just feels petty, I assume you mean, and holier than thou. And I think there is something evil about acting in a holier than thou manner. Maybe that's just my religious trauma talking. Oh, Pepper. I think Pepper wants to go for her walk. Educating people on Gen AI and LLM's weaknesses on their strengths helps prevent people on the harm it does. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think I don't know, actually this is something that Catburger says all the time. He says that our political ideas are so much more affected by the people who are nice to us than any of us are willing to admit. Anyway, I think Pepper, if you can hear her, is demanding her walk. She demands the means to production to go on a walk, which is me driving to the place where we go on our walks. Does make you think less of them, specifically when they didn't think about how they used it. Yeah, totally. Just pull back the tone. Not reprehensible, but still lower order bad act. People are so sensitive though, right? The second you imply that they do anything less than like something that is anything less than neutral, they get like, oh geez, oh the morality police. Demanding the means of poop production, yeah. Well, she'll do that either way. It's more difficult to be kind, yeah. It's so hard to navigate saying something that you believe while also being kind. The environmental impact, which is not the worst thing ever, but it's pretty bad. Yeah. Okay, gang. I gotta get off. And I gotta get this dog a walk. Everybody, thank you all so much for coming. No stream next week, which is devastating to me, of course. I'll miss you guys. But in 2 weeks, we will return probably with more Marx. Hopefully I'll have made more progress than I made in between our last 2 meetings. I'll miss you guys. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you so much. I'll try to have fun at PAX. Pepper says thank you.